What's going on, YouTube? How y'all been out there for the past couple of months? I know there was no NFL football. So for some of us, that's kind of like the downtime of the year. I guess you can, take your time and do something constructive, which is a good thing. But when football season comes around, it's just something about it. It kind of consumes a lot of us for good and bad reasons, but whatever. So anywho, welcome to another episode of Rally's Talk. I'm your host, as always, Benjamin or Boogie, whichever you choose to call me. So I personally cannot wait for this season to start for various reasons. Number one, welcome back. Welcome back, fans. I will never complain, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us will as well, about ticket prices, about, the fans and what they're doing or not doing. The games are just not the same without the fans in the stadium. They give you a vibe, they give you an energy. That's one of the reasons why I'm happy for the season to start back. Another reason, just a lot of moves. We had a couple of good drafts from different teams, a couple of bad drafts from a couple other different teams. So, I'm gonna get to that later in a few other shows. But today, I want to talk about something. So, obviously, I live in Chicago. I am not a Bears fan, but I wanted to see a live football game. I didn't care if it was preseason. It didn't matter. Also, I had never went tailgating before, so that was my first time doing the whole tailgate thing. So I went to the Bears versus Bills games. Got there 8 o'clock in the morning, drank, ate, what have you. But again, I wanted to see a live game for numerous reasons, especially the Bears. And I'm not a Bears fan, but the Bears, I want to see them for a couple reasons. Number one, as a Big Ten fan and a quasi-closet Ohio State fan, more of a Nebraska Cornhusker fan myself, I wish Justin Fields well. But at the same time, Ohio State are notorious the last 10 years or so of having these great college quarterbacks, and when they get to the NFL, they flunk out. Dwayne Haskins, Braxton Miller, Terrell Pryor, I might be missing one, and now Justin Fields. So I don't know what it is about those guys. They play this high-octane offense in the Big Ten, but get to the NFL, and at best case scenario, just become backups. The other reason why I wanted to see a game, because I wanted to see what Mitch Trubisky was going to do in this alleged revenge game. So I get it. It is the preseason, but that's only true in theory, and I'm going to explain that why. But there was a lot of things I saw in the Bears that just were so fucking disappointing. And if you're a Bears fan, you need to be worried. This is, again, remember, we got 17 games this year. So this is a 7-10 squad, possibly, from what I saw live. And watching the game live is totally different, and I'll explain why. Before I get into that, shout out to my man Corey Crockett, and it's a reason why. This man is a die-hard Bears fan. I've been knowing the man since we was in high school. He is die-hard. He's always optimistic. But he's one of the few guys that I personally know in my circle that for years has been pinning the blame not on Mitch Trubisky, but Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy is a fucking problem. How is this man still in the NFL? I have no clue. At best case scenario, he owes his current career to the Arizona Cardinals, because he should have been let go last year. I saw a lot of things in this game, and I'm wondering, how is this dude still coaching? And guess how I saw that? It was because of Mitch Trubisky. Now again, it's the preseason, so it doesn't count. But again, that's true in theory though. The final score may not count, but let me tell you what does count. Down and distance still count. The coach's schematics and scheme stays for the most part the same. So it doesn't matter what players you have out there. His scheme is still going to be the same thing. That's what you're working on. Only thing that just doesn't count in the preseason is the final score. Also at the same time, for some guys it really does count. Guys that are trying to make a roster spot. Normally rookies, undrafted free agents, what have you. Old school veterans who still need a paycheck, what have you. So for some people that keep saying that the preseason does not count, that's not entirely true. So let's get to the game and what I saw and why Mitch Trubisky made me officially realize that Matt Nagy is you guys' problem. So Mitch looked every bit of the second player taken in the NFL draft 4 years ago. Every bit. And here's why. I'm constantly watching him hit the open receiver. I'm going to tell you why. Because they're open. He's not necessarily. I'm not one of those guys that blame the Bears' offensive line for some of their struggles over the years. They could get better, but one thing I've always noticed with whoever is play calling under center for the Bears, it's always the same thing, especially on passing downs. Progression 1, progression 2, progression 3. That's typical. We understand that, but sometimes progression 1 is already open. So if he's open, throw it to him. So if he's not open, then you move to your second progression. Throw it to him. What I always see Bears QBs do, and I saw Andy Dalton do this, and I saw this a lot with Mitch Trubisky last year. They will look at progression 1, whether he's open or not, still go to progression 2. Whether he's open or not, still go to progression 3. Here's the problem. Now they go back and look at progression 1 again, possibly, or the best way I can put it is like, okay, who's more open? Or who's the best chance to get us the bigger yardage? No, you don't do that. So now all of a sudden they're looking for progression 1 again. Now he's covered. Progression 2, covered. Progression 3. Even if you get a chance to look for him, because the blitz is now coming or the pass rush is coming, now it's your typical check down back. The little same flat route back that's coming out the backfield, get you your little 2 yards, keep you from losing yardage. I saw the same thing with Andy Dalton, but I did not see that with Mitch Trubisky while he was playing with the Bills. I mean, he's constantly hitting the open receiver because, again, the guys are open. Constantly hitting the guy in the flat, constantly hitting the guy downfield. The few times he ran was, he's a natural athlete anyway. There was a few times that he ran and kept the play alive, but he's not running for his life because he's constantly taking 4 or 5 seconds to release the ball. Now, in the second half, Justin Fields. I saw the same thing in Justin Fields. I'm not blaming the talent. I'm not saying he's on the same level as Mitch Trubisky. One thing we need to keep in mind about Justin Fields, he has not played an official NFL game yet. So Bears fans, calm down. Calm down a little bit. I get it. You're thirsty for a quarterback. I really, really get it. In your history, you have never had a top-notch signal caller. Jay Cutler is as best as you got. But calm down on Justin Fields a little bit. But again, in the third quarter, I saw the same things in Justin Fields that I saw in Mitch Trubisky and I saw in Andy Dalton in the first half. Progression 1, progression 2, progression 3. Now let me look at all of them together, see who's open the most. And at the same time, now I'm running for my life. The play breaks down. At best case scenario, I can use my legs to go in for a first down or, catch a guy. DB can't cover a guy all game. This is more of a play calling issue. The Bears, for years, their receivers get no space. For some odd reason, now Mitchell Trubisky is in Buffalo. Receivers getting plenty of space. That just can't be talent. That's the play calling. That has to be play calling. So something you see the Bears do a lot. Let's just say they go a double slot. 2 receivers on one side of the field, 2 other receivers on the other side of the field. They run a double slot, so the slot receiver is pretty much going to run a slant. The flanker, the inside guy, he's going to run a 2-yard out. They don't rub each other for some odd reason. It's a natural pick play to make one or the other open. But let's pretend that they do rub each other. This is where the Bears or their scheme always fucks up at. The Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers of the world, they can hit the guy in stride. He catches it, let's just say about 3 yards out. And he got another 2 yards in stride that he can get. So that's a 5-yard gain. This is why Tom Brady is the master of the dink and dunk game. He can just 5 yards you to death, 5 yards you to death, 5 yards you to death. But a lot of times those passes only be for about 3-4 yards, but the receiver gets more yak. He gets 2 or 3 yak. Whereas the Bears or Matt Nagy's scheme only has them literally running the inside slant, but they're stopping. So now they stop. He catches the ball. But now here comes the defensive back. Now here comes the linebacker. It's only a 3-yard gain. 3 yards isn't bad, but you constantly getting 3 yards to play. You constantly end up in a situation where you're at 4th and 1, and now you have to fucking punt. This is a scheme issue. It's not a player issue. I saw it way too much in that game. It's not even hard to put in. It's really more disappointing that Matt Nagy still has a fucking job. Another thing I see him do a lot. He thinks he's still in Kansas City with Tyreek Hill where he got speed demons. You cannot keep running this damn bubble screen, bro. This bubble screen over and over and over. You don't have the personnel for it. You don't have a guy that has a quick 10-yard burst where he can either fly past the DB or he puts the DB in a real fucked up situation where now he jukes him and he's gone for 80 yards. No, you keep doing this bubble screen for 2 yards, 3 yards. What are you doing here? Let's go to the running game. I mean, gosh, how many times can you run 32 dive? Or whatever the Bears numbering system is. I'm going about for high school numbers. The halfback getting the ball, he's going to the left side of the guard or the right side of the guard. On a good day, you might run a counter, but there's nothing fancy about your running game that a high school defensive coordinator couldn't figure out. Now, don't get me wrong. In that game, the Bears did have a couple of issues that I saw. Missed tackling. But that's something that you can say, well, it's just the preseason, we get better. Although you don't want to make it a habit. They had a couple of drops. I saw, can't remember which player it was, probably a guy that's fighting for a roster spot. Wide open, Justin Fields hits him square in the chest and he drops the ball. So the Bears did have some issues outside of coaching, but Matt Nagy's play calling, his play calling, not the personnel, is the issue. How does Mitch Trubisky, who is Chicago's villain now, even more than Jay Cutler for sitting out the second half against the Packers in the playoffs, Mitch was booed, everything. But from what I saw in that game, Mitch actually was the second draft pick in the NFL draft. And he looked deserving of it if he has a coach that can put him in a position to win. Now, unfortunately for Mitch, he's going behind Josh Allen. I guess you finna relegate yourself to a career backup role, bro, because you're not finna take that guy's spot anytime soon. You're talking about one of the most exciting up-and-coming young NFL quarterbacks who easily has another 10 years left in him, barring injuries. But Bears fans, get it out your head. Matt Nagy is your fucking problem. That dude needs to go. You cannot keep running this archaic offense. And the sad part about it is your offense is so basic that defenses really don't have to blitz you. I guess they'll blitz you just because you keep holding the ball. You have your quarterbacks going through so many progressions that it makes no sense to blitz because eventually the pass rush is just going to naturally get to you. You can't hold that. You can't hold a middle linebacker for every day. You can't hold a nose guard all game. It's just not happening. You make it so easy on the defense to just pretty much line up and run a cover 2 on you the entire damn game. You scare no one with the type of offense you run. And last thing I say back to my man Corey, like I say, who was always said that Matt Nagy is the problem. Now this is why I disagree with him at. He says Matt Nagy, if he could, would pass every single down. I get what you're saying, I really do, but I don't think so. I think he's the type of person that'll go with what's working, but the problem is nothing's ever fucking working. So if the 32 dive was working, he would do that every down. If the dink and dunk was working every play, he would do that every down. Also, why does this dude not throw the ball down the field? I don't get that. I don't fucking get that. It's always 2-yard in routes, 3-yard in routes. Every blue moon you'll catch Allen Robinson streaking down the sideline or something like that, but that's a given. But I'm looking at the game the other day live again. Like I said, you see things open up live. I'm sitting up and asking myself, they're playing a cover 1 against you. Where's the double post route? Where's the deep end? What's that 15-yard in route? Or, something that rubs that free safety. They're running a cover 1 on you. Now that could have been a quarterback issue where he didn't audible out of it or something like that. But you're running a deep cover 1 and you're still running a 32 dive, 32 power, 3-back getting the ball going through the 2-hole, 1-hole. This is elementary stuff, bro. This is elementary stuff. Matt Nagy is you guys' problem. And during this season, if the Bears get off to a bad start, let's just say they're 2-4. If you are a Bears fan, and if you are looking at the game of football from a non-biased perspective, you need to call for that guy's head. So this has been my video again. Welcome back. Welcome back. We got fans. Welcome all of what's called the NFL back into our lives. I cannot wait. I plan on going to a couple of live games this year. The 49ers play the Bears here at Soldier Field. But I'm a 49ers fan. I live in Chicago though, so I am definitely going to that game. I can't wait to see what Kyler Murray them has for a repeat. I'm not expecting a lot out of Lamar Jackson. I'll get that to another video. I really think he's going to progress this year. Not progress, I think he's going to regress. Him and a couple of other guys. I expect the 49ers, if they can stay healthy, they will be okay. And Joe Burrow last year, I actually wish he could do his rookie season again because that boy was smoking last year. That boy was smoking out there at Cincinnati. There was nothing that dude couldn't do. So, again, welcome to another episode of Riley's Talk. Thank you, and I will see you every day or every week throughout the rest of this evening. Have a good evening.